Sorry, I'm still laughing at your humorous self. Hi, Lana. Welcome to our show.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, just be yourself because if you're not yourself, this ain't Lana and how she's loud and she's boisterous about. Hi.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
I don't know why she's
Don't
nervous.
be.
All right.
There's no reason to be. She said, "All right, get it, girl." That's the spirit.
Don't
So,
worry.
thank you for being with us today. Obviously, we're a member down, so it's just myself and Aisha. We haven't got Shah today because she's a very busy girl during
She
quarantine.
got bad things to do, apparently.
Apparently so. But today's topic's all about networking, and that's why we've got you, Lana, is because we obviously see you as a bit of a networking whiz, and we're doing a series called the Level Up series. And as a part of leveling up, we put into place a bit of a structure with different themes. So some of the stuff was like one of the themes was networking, one of them was education. We're going to do more about like mortgages and credit scores and all that kind of stuff. But today is networking. You're the whiz, so that's why you're here.
Right.
How
I'll
does
do my
that
best.
feel?
Oh, other than nervous, I feel very privileged.
Oh,
She's gonna make me laugh if she's like, I feel privileged.
yeah.
Nervous.
Yeah, nervous,
No.
nervous.
So
So
Lana, you know how we operate.
I do, but I know this is what's worrying me. This quick fire business.
Don't
I
be
tried.
scared to ask her. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind.
I
Oh
was telling
God.
her, right, she's acting like we're doing some next subject. We're doing networking, you know. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know. Don't worry.
All
No,
right,
don't
go
worry.
on.
Yeah.
All right.
I've
So
been
before we
practicing. I've been
say
practicing.
you've been practicing.
No, I'm joking. Go on,
Oh,
Ash.
wow. Because we do it every week, I'm going to say it. So Lana's in the hot seat. You know, just. So I'm going to go first. So just say the first thing that comes to your mind, Lana. Don't overthink it, all right? Otherwise, it'll be slow clap. So, do you look forward to networking events?
Yes.
Do you carry business cards?
No.
Do you practice a pitch for networking events?
No.
How often do you update your LinkedIn?
I would say every 2 months, roughly.
Bloody hell, that's frequently. Do you censor your other social media to maintain a professional image?
Yes and no.
Okay. Do you keep in touch with old contacts that might be useful one day in the future?
Absolutely, 100%.
Over to you,
Okay.
Shah.
Shah's not here today.
Boring.
Is it about what you know or who you know?
Both, I'd say, but I'll say both.
Do you ever feel fake when networking?
No.
Do you ever brown nose to get in there?
No, I don't think brown nosing is the right term, but you can.
No, just use it as brown nosing. We'll explain later.
Nah.
Nah. Have you ever had to fuck for a buck?
Nah, never.
Even when going into business with your husband?
Nah.
Aisha, did I miss any questions? Because I feel like I didn't see where you stopped.
No, we did all right. We did them all. We got them all. Yeah.
I think,
So
well
That's
done,
out of the way.
That's out the way. No surprises.
Nah, but I think some of them questions are trying to catch me out.
well, like the fuck for a buck.
No.
So one of the questions I want to hone in on was I asked if you censor your social media to maintain a professional kind of profile. And you said no, yes, no, yes, no.
Yeah, I
Explain.
would say my probably the most social media platform that I use would be Facebook, and I'm just careful with what I share. And although I try and bring across my humor and my personality, I'm conscious that there's some things I'm sharing that I've got a broad network of people who I've met along my way through my career, and I'm just conscious that I still have to maintain, although everyone like I said, I'm very real. I don't have a fake approach when I'm networking. So although everyone knows my personality, I'm always very conscious that there's always, you can push boundaries a little bit too far. And if you've got professional people on your network, you should try and maintain that profile.
I sound so shit at networking because I think your personality is a networking personality. So when you're able to transition and transfer those skills between friendships, between professional friendships and that kind of stuff, and maintain those relationships, I'm kind of more inwards, where I'm like, I'd rather just have friends and them be on my social medias so I can just be who I am, because I can't monitor or censor anything. Not that I'm posting anything that's like ridiculous, but even at the same time, networking in general, how do you do it? Why is it so important?
I would say it's key to success, because you have to build long-term relationships with people, and people need to build relationships with you, put trust into you to then recommend you for projects. At one point in my life, I was freelancing as a project manager, and it was really important to network across events and different programs. And one time, quite early on in my career, at one of the events projects I'd done in an internship when I moved to America, I made it like a real key part of my event management to go around to each different exhibition and just make a contact and get business cards. And then when I went home, I remember going through them thinking, probably won't need them in the future, but might need to speak to those guys and get some insight on what they do, and try and build my own career and my own path using different contacts. So once you build a good rapport with someone, I think if you build on those relationships, it's not about networking and getting something immediately. It's not a transactional relationship. It's not just going to be, hey, I'm Lana, this is what I do, what can I do for you? It's more of building a relationship, getting them to like you, trust you, being able to see how you work together, and then honing in on it later in life. And to be fair, I probably got to where I am through networking and through likability and through relationship building.
Mm-hmm.
You said one thing, I don't know if it was on the podcast or just before, about being natural, or it might have been Tay that said it, but I think that's really important as well. And I think you said about likability and just being natural with it. And one thing I think a lot of people make the mistake of doing is going to these networking events thinking, right, what can I get from that person? What can I get from that person? Rather than just being natural, being themselves and not being too pushy, and having their personality and likability come across, building that relationship, like you said, and then it might lead to something in the future, but not going there with an expectation that you're going to get X, Y, and Z from certain people. I think that's really cool what you said.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And you've got to put yourself in the driver's seat. So if I was at an event and there was a young person who was interested in a career that I might have evolved from or be in at the moment, and if they came across and expected a transactional experience in networking, like, hi, I want to do this, how do I get to where you're going to be, like, that's great, I can give you advice, but you're never going to be handed things on a plate. I need to build a relationship with you, like you, and then I'll be encouraged, like I feel like I really want to help this person, like, how can I get them involved, this person's great. Like, you've got to show them your assets, you've got to show them how great you are, and not expect things to be given to you on a plate, because nothing is ever that easy. Nothing easy is worth having anyway.
Yeah.
See, that's really good, because I was going to ask you what the art of networking is, but I think you kind of briefly touched on it in regards to, like building that relationship, speaking to them, showing your assets, that kind of stuff. What would you say to a person who's maybe a little bit fearing of networking or approaching people or putting themselves in a position to be quite vulnerable? Because you've got to bear in mind, if you're speaking to other professionals or anyone who's in a position where you would consider yourself wanting to be, it can be quite daunting. So how would you help them build their networking skills in order to have that conversation with someone?
I'll probably say don't go into it treating it as a networking situation. Just go in there with, if you're trying to get advice for someone on how they got to their career, go in there and ask the question. I think being more on a conversational approach is networking. Networking isn't necessarily a specific technique. It's just conversations and relationship building, and you'll only get what I'm very, very straight in what I want. If I need to know something, I would just ask the question, and I'll say, how did you get to where you are? Like, I'm really inspired by what you do. And some people are more nervous and more introverted, and that is much harder for them to start those conversations, but you'll only get out of it what you put in. So you're not going to know. If you don't ask, you're never going to know. So I would just say to take the jump. No, we're all human, and I think conversations are natural for human beings. And I think that as long as you've got in your mind what you'd like to get out of it, and you're not expecting a job, then I think it can only go one way. It can only go one way.
Yeah, I'm just picking up on something you said about going up and saying, how did you get to where you are? Something that just sprung into my mind was being prepared and knowing who's going to be at the networking event, so you can do research, because then at least you know who you want to speak to, why you want to speak to them, and then understanding, you know, that person might be good because I can find out X, Y, Z, or, you know, that kind of thing. So that was really good what you said about that. So
yeah, that is good. And what you just said, Aisha, as well, adding on to that, and sorry, what you said, La, about being human, I think sometimes, merging what both of you said now, when you know who's at the events, you obviously already know why you want to network with those people. So you're not going in blindsided thinking, okay, I'm going to go to this event and just talk to everyone, because that shouldn't be your goal, because you don't need everyone. So it is about being prepared, being human, having a conversation. And if you are in a position where you are slightly more not insecure, but slightly more nervous and slightly a little bit worried about talking to people, prepare yourself and maybe set yourself just like a conversational practice where you can kind of exchange some words between you and a friend or a mirror, and just kind of see what it is you want to get out of it. But I think being human, because you can come across as a robot, and that doesn't sell your assets and it doesn't sell your personality, and you're going to think, I don't want to see this robot again. So therefore, that networking wasn't a network. You're not on my LinkedIn. Bye.
Yeah. You've got to be memorable, and you've got to leave them with a lasting impression. And I'm not saying do something crazy, but just speaking, like knowledgeable, like knowing, like, hey, I know you're a CEO of X, and I've done a bit of research on your background. I saw you recently done a TED talk, and I was really inspired. Like, how did you get there? And just little things. And also, you've got to remember, these CEOs and all these big names seem also almost like worrying for a person to speak to somebody of that stature. But you've got to remember, they were once us. They were once a lower level. Like, everybody's built their way, and everybody's got a story. And the more you find out about people in different industries and professionals, the more inspired you are to think, well, I'm going to be there one day. Like,
yeah,
you're only
going to get the passion.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely.
No, but I like what you said about remembering that they were once at the level that that you are now, sort of thing. That is key to remember.
So What are the things you would say not to do when you're trying to network?
Don't assume you know what they're going to say next. So one of my pet hates is when, and sometimes I can be a victim of my own faults here, but sometimes if you're speaking to someone and they're like, try and finish what you're trying to say but have no idea what you're going to say. You know what I mean? I can't stand that. It does my head in. But like, because you're almost trying to be professional, and you're trying to think, I want to make sure they know that I know what they're talking about, and then they're absolutely talking about nothing about what you're talking about. So I think that's always a pet hate. But I would say just be yourself. Like, don't falsify any personality. Don't falsify who you are. Like, you are who you are, and you're going to get to where you're going to get to. And you just have to make sure that you bring people on the ride with you, and just always remember. I would say, more than what not to do, don't immediately just say, hi, I'm Lana, and I'd like to be CEO of this. Can I have your business card? Like, it's about building relationships, and don't just go in there with a transactional. Make sure that you know what you want to get out of it, and it's definitely never, ever, ever, ever a job. But make sure that you just build relationships, and then use them again. Like, say, hey, it was great to meet you at the event. Like, what did you think? What did you think of X? And just make sure you continue to build. I remember one of my previous jobs, one of my first jobs I ever had. I still communicate with the manager there now. I would probably never would I need to lean on that person. I'm in a different point in my career now, and in a different path, but I always make sure I bring them on the journey with me, because I don't forget that those people were there and they were the stepping stones for me and to where I got to. And that is a totally different career path to what I'm on now. But like I said, like, you never know when paths are going to cross. Like, my first ever internship was with a lady in America, and she's got her own business, and I'm built real strong relationships, and now I could almost probably build an agency similar to her, but I always keep her like on board, like, this is what I'm doing, what do you think about this? Oh, I've seen you done this event. Like, I just keep in contact with people, because you never know, I might want to go to America and do another event. You just gotta make sure that you
Donna, you are so good at that, like, whether it's natural or whether it's a conscious effort that you're continuing your networking process. You are so good at it that I swear to God, I can't fault Lana for her. She can be put in any circle and she's going to smash it because she knows how to communicate. She's likable. She does. I always say to people, with Lana, you know what you're going to get because she's very obvious about it. And it's a trait that I wish I had. It's kind of just letting people know exactly what you're about and no bullshitting. She's not a people pleaser, but in that process, she's very liked because that is who she is. So it just goes to show the authenticity of who you are helps, regardless whether you're that straight-laced and that, like, to the point and blunt, or if you're going to be like a little bit more, I don't want to oppose it saying the wrong thing to make it sound like you're not that, but if you're like blunt like Lana, or if you're more whimsy like someone else, like, if that is who you are, it's still going to come across and it's still going to work in your favor.
100%. No one person is the same, and thanks for your kind words, Tay. You're so cute.
I think one thing that feeds into the networking as well is Lana's pretty good, I'm talking like you're not here, and knowing exactly what she wants and how to get it.
Yes.
And using the situation to her advantage. So, for example, whenever we go out for group meals as a group, Lana is always in charge of getting us either discount, better treatment, or table upgrades or whatever. And now when we go to certain fancy places, the managers will know her because they know exactly what to expect.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Exactly
being straight with them, being really firm, you know, building those contacts. Now that you've got those contacts, you're able to know how to get what you want and get what you want. And in the networking context, it's exactly the same.
Exactly
Being
the same.
yourself, just exactly like the same. Being yourself, knowing what you're going there for, being prepared, all of those kind of things. So it
That's
doesn't
probably
need to...
what you said there, Aish, about like the restaurants and stuff, is that I also make sure they remember me. So when I go back, I'm like, oh my God, hi! And then they almost are like, what? But they kind of remember me. But obviously, professionally, you can't just run up to someone and be... You can't just go up to someone and like hug them and they're like a CEO of a company. That's weird. I'm not definitely not. I try and make an impression, and then they'll remember you the next time. And Tay will tell you like the time that we went to Drake twice.
I was just gonna talk on it. Please tell me story. No, you tell it. No, I'll tell it.
Okay, go on.
Believe, yeah. Lana went to the Drake concert. And she had a wicked time. She's like, oh, we're going to go tomorrow. I was like, oh, are we really? She's like, yeah, I'm going to come and pick you up. She picked me up. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to Drake. I was like, this is so sick. I didn't think I was going to Drake because I didn't have a ticket. She's like, yeah, VIP passes. VIP passes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sick. I was like, this is sick. So we drove all the way there. I think it was in Hammersmith, was it? Was it Hammersmith or Angel? Or I can't remember where it was. So anyway, we drove all the way there, and she said, right, these tickets are from yesterday, let's go. I was like, what? And I was like nervous. I was like, no, Lana. Lana got out the car, and I had no choice but to follow her. I was just like a little lapdog behind her. I was like this, like trying to catch up with her. She got to the door. She was like, oh, you're right, it's me from yesterday. How's it going? And do I just go through these doors? Again, me behind her. I'm like, yeah. So I follow her. We get to the once we're in the actual building, she says it again to some next girl, like, oh, is it just through there? Again, we go straight through. We are in Drake's concert with day-old VIP passes. I'm literally just like, I'm astounded, and I'm just in awe of everything she just did to make this possible. So then it gets to the backstage bit. Again, she's working her magic. And she said to the guy, yeah, we've got backstage passes, so do we just go up there? He was like, that was the colour for yesterday. And she's like, oh, okay. But believe we had a whole concert. Forget about backstage passes. Like, I was happy enough being there, from thinking that we had legit tickets to knowing that in that moment she just made all of that happen.
Sick.
So,
if you go in there with that confidence, I know not everyone has it, definitely not, and it is very brazen, and it was probably in my younger days. Not to say I wouldn't do it now, but I just had confidence, and I always say this in meetings, like even now in my career now, and I'm lead marketing manager for 3, and I say to my boss, she's like, how did you get that done? And I said, if you tell them something with confidence, no one else does my job. So if I say something, they just, all right, yeah, that's what she said. So you just got to say it with confidence, like, no, it doesn't sit in our channel, sorry. And they're like, okay. Like,
She kills me. She
so
actually
yeah.
kills me. But look, I just wanted to like point out what you just said. Lana works for a big company. She works for free. Believe this girl will be in the kitchen speaking to the head of the company. When I say, I don't mean like a manager or a senior manager or a corporate man. I mean the head of the company. I don't know what his name is. I can't remember. But it's like, hi, Dave. Just like she knows Dave. And, you know, Dave responds with her because Dave is a person and
Yeah,
Dave picks up on her energy and she's that energetic person. So it stands to reason that you give something and you get it back. So I need to like literally just like follow you around with a notepad. But I was going to say what else is important is if you can adapt those skills, even if it's not in your personality now. I think it's important to recognize who you are right now in this moment and skills that you want to be able to gain in order to make yourself better. So you might know that you're a bit quiet. You might know that you're a bit shy, a bit nervous, all of those things that might make it difficult to network. But then being able to note down that I want to be more energetic, I want to be more talkative, I want to be more confident in new situations, all of that kind of stuff, that will actually help you to start rewiring your brain to tell yourself, okay, pick up on these skills. Notice when you're being the quiet person, introduce a bit more of your personality. So it is about also adapting to that person if you're not that person at the moment, because you don't want to get stuck behind. You don't want to get left behind when there's so many people exceeding, doing what you could have done.
Yeah, 100%. It's about selling yourself, and I work in marketing, and it's about marketing yourself as a person. And you might be quieter, and if everyone was like me in the world, that would be a really shit world. Like, let's put it that way. Like,
As with everyone.
It'll be wild. Yeah, it'll be wild. So I think it's really important to work on your key assets. Like, you might be quiet, but you might be so smart and have like nuggets of intelligence that these CEOs don't know. I'll give you an example. At 3, there was a guy who worked in one of our stores, in one of our retail stores, and he came up with one of our best ever had in the business. So he came up with the Go Roam initiative, which proposition, which is to give customers free calling when they're roaming overseas. That is one of our best propositions we've ever had, and put us over all of our other competitors in the market. And that came from a retail store manager. He literally spoke to our CEO at one of their retail days where everyone goes back to the floor and everyone works in a retail store, and he was like, hey, why don't you think about like maybe doing roaming? It blew. Like, it put us where we are now in our category, and he's never been forgotten for it. But he probably wouldn't have had the confidence ever to just email our CEO or to pop into the head office. It took for our CEO to go there, build a relationship, for him to then say, oh, like, had an idea. Like, customers always want to call abroad. Like, why don't we do that? And it was one of our best selling propositions. So I just think it's important to work on what your key assets are and how you can contribute to a business or a person. Build your own brand.
You are your brand.
Definitely.
Going back to what you said.
That probably says as well what you said, Aisha, about what you say on social media. Like, you just got to remember, if you're using it professionally, you're your own brand. Like, just grow it how you want to be perceived.
Mm-hmm.
You said you update your LinkedIn kind of every couple of months. Is that right?
Yeah. So I'll share content, and I'm on there, and I probably have made a note to myself at the beginning of the year to be more actively building my own brand on LinkedIn. So like finding content, sharing content, and just making myself more known. And it's something that I've tried to do. But in terms of updating it, I update it every time there's a key project I've worked on or a key campaign that I've delivered. Like recently when we launched 5G, I just put that as my bio. That's key. And I think it's important that your LinkedIn is a profile of yourself for recruiters and for people to headhunt you. And I know so many success stories that have started just from a LinkedIn message. So I think it's really important to keep it up to date. When I say bi-monthly, I'll go on there and just make sure, one, my picture's refreshed, my bio is really up to date. Like we launched 5G home back in August, so I'll make sure that now I'm talking about something else, and I'll make sure that I update key campaigns. I'm not saying update your CV or whatever every 2 months, but and then just share content. Like go on there, have a look, have a read, follow key people, influencers in your industry, and share their content, and just build on and comment and just interact with these professionals so that you get your status higher and higher across the board. Definitely.
Yeah,
really good.
Worth keeping up with. Do you have any more questions or anything you want to request from Lana, or any other points you want to make?
There was one other thing that I think, Tay, when you said something about previously when we were chatting, and something just popped into my mind about faking it until you make it. Because sometimes I know, Lani, like you were saying, that when you're in meetings and stuff, you're really confident with what you're saying and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I find sometimes, like when I was building up my career and stuff, there were things that I wasn't 100% sure I could do in terms of a job role or when I was networking, but I just kind of went with the flow and pushed myself to do those things. And so I think a key thing in all of this is be confident in you, what you know, and what your potential can be, and go out there when you're networking with that exuberance and just live through the confidence, basically.
Yeah,
Definitely. In job descriptions, I think that it's easy to pick a job that you definitely can do. I think when you look at jobs that you might have to work a little bit harder, but you can come across confident that you're able to deliver, I think that's key. I would say that probably every step in my career, I've pushed boundaries a little bit with what I said I can do versus what I can do. And I've always managed to meet those expectations. Obviously, I don't go for a CEO job, but everyone goes for the job above what they're at, because you know you can do the current job, and it's worth being challenged. But like you said, it's really important to be confident in you and your capabilities and what you can do, but within reason, definitely.
And that's the only way you can grow. You can't grow in your comfort zone, can you? So
definitely not. Definitely. I would 100% say that. And I do sometimes in meetings, you might not know all the answers, and it's fine to say you don't know, and it's fine in an interview to say I'm not sure on that. But if you sell yourself well and you market yourself well, you're always going to get, and your confidence in yourself. You don't have to be a confident person to be confident in yourself. I think that's really important. Yeah.
I like that. Oh, I've really enjoyed that. Does anyone else want to make any other points, Lana? I mean, I know you just said something, but anything else to add, or any gems, or?
I don't know. I just think that everybody's ability is only your only restriction is yourself. I don't think anyone else can stop you being where you want to be, and I think that it's important to grow. And sometimes you can be, I think, held down by what society's expectation is of you, and you might not have a degree. I don't have a degree, but I still doesn't. I've got sometimes I look at some people who have a job that's better than me, who've got a degree, and sometimes I look at myself. I took a different route, but I don't have a degree, but I still managed to get to where I've got to. And I just think it's important not to put yourself in a category and expect to be restricted in any way. Your only limitations are within yourself. So that's all I'll say, really.
Really good advice. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know that a lot of people will find this really useful, because I think you've answered a lot of questions for people that as maybe starting out in a different career path or want to elevate themselves and find a way about doing that and making key contacts and stuff. So I think that's going to be really useful for people.
Yeah, and can I just add, I'm surprised that you ever for 1 second thought you were nervous to.
I am nervous.
You don't come across it, so don't worry.
But yeah,
thank you guys. Thanks for having me. It's been very good, and I love your podcast, and keep doing your thing. I'm looking forward to leveling up.
Level up. And we out. Peace.
Awadi Podclart.
Podclart. Alright, stop recording.